Welcome to Your Tru Awakening, the podcast where we dive deep into what it means to live your life on purpose, to create a life that fuels you, that feels true to who you are. I'm your host, Sandra Tru, here to guide you on a journey of soulful exploration and inner mastery. Together, we're here to unravel the layers, challenge the status quo, and unlock the wisdom that helps you shine from the inside out. Each week, we'll have a powerful conversation with some of the world's most inspiring leaders, spiritual mentors, and artists who are lighting the way for a more conscious, abundant, and joyful life. From ancient wisdom to modern practices, we'll explore transformative tools and inspiring stories to help you live, love, and lead authentically. Whether you're at a turning point in your life or stepping into your power or simply seeking more depth and meaning in your everyday moments, this is your invitation to step out of the ordinary, break free from old patterns, and awaken your true potential. So if you're ready to laugh, reflect, and expand, you're in the right place. So let's get started. Today, I'm so excited to be joined by my dear sister, dear friend, Gloria Ruiz, lovingly known as Glow. She's a radiant force of transformation. She's an intuitive entrepreneur. She is the super connector. She's completely devoted to the path of energetic healing and leadership. And after many years of leading a life in the corporate world, Glow answered her soul stirring call to explore the deeper purpose, right? The deeper purpose that was calling her. And her journey led her to immerse herself in the study of powerful healing modalities, where she discovered her divine mission to guide others through energetic awakening, through self realization, and through deep transformation. She's been on this gorgeous journey since 2018 when she started to walk the plant medicine world, right? The path of the plant medicine and working with holistic healing, expanding her gifts as an intuitive through modalities as theta healing and chakra balancing, quantum energy work, breath work, and right now what she's focusing on mostly is conscious retreats. And her multi-dimensional approach really, she does so much, but some of the things that she's focusing on right now is shadow work integration and soul expansion and empowered embodiment. She's very well known for her heart-centered presence and her magnetism, and everywhere she goes, she literally glows. Glow blends a five-star service with grounded wisdom, and it's really beautiful to have her as an ally on my journey. She's been a great ally for me, and she's not only a community builder, but she carries the codes of light. She also works with the Egyptian elixir ceremonies, where she stands as a beacon for support and really embodying the new earth, the evolution, and support others in rising to their truth and in the spirit of sacredness and the heart. So I'm so happy that you're here, sister. I love you so much.
I love you so much, Sandra. It's truly an honor to be here with you today, which is honestly a long time coming. From the moment I met you many years back, I knew that this day would happen. I did.
Oh my
Because
goodness,
our connection is instant, we flow, we have deep conversations, and we get it. So truly, thank you for having me here today.
have we ever not had a super deep conversation?
Never. We used to even do lunch dates, you and I, and have these deep conversations in our lunch
Yeah.
dates.
So, the conversation we want to bring to you today is the power of going beyond duality and leading from the middle path. So, many of us are stuck in dualistic thinking, or this or that, or is it this way or is it that way? These people are right, and these people are wrong. You're right, I'm wrong. This is how it should be instead of that way. And both of us really walk a priestess
Yeah.
walk, right? The walk of beauty, the path of beauty in many ways. And the path of beauty is the path of harmony, is the path of integrating ourselves, is the path of going beyond this or that and coming into a place of yes and. right?
Mm.
Of both, and that there's a possibility for us to harmonize into duality. That actually is duality, is what supports uniqueness and newness and creation. And I really feel that spirit can only express itself in truth when it's a new creation, a new way of being, a new way of thinking, a new possibility, that it's beyond old stories of identity or old expectations of how things should be. Gloria, what do you have to add to that?
Well, personally speaking, my path really has been like, it's been years into the making, really stepping more and more into my authenticity, into my essence. You know, we live in a world that we're so conditioned by our upbringing, by our society, and we're literally being programmed nonstop with all the things that we see and hear. And so I realized years back that I wanted to take a step back and do things differently. And from that space, I started to notice how beautiful life can be when we can broaden our perspective and see other people's point of view and learn from different beliefs, learn from different religions and cultures. And this is why I've also been traveling, exploring, and diving deeper into, you know, not only plant medicine, but more so like the people, because the truth is we are all unique and different and special, and we all have gifts. And so I find that what I've gained in all these years through my soul mission, through my pilgrimage, is learning to just find my center. And in my center, it's like there is no right or wrong, really. It's just being able to hold space, because really that's what I do when I'm in these ceremonies, and even for my friends, or I'm able to really be this space holder. And it comes very natural to me, and it's really beautiful. But again, I did the inner work to get here. You know, this wasn't something I was just born into. Like, I had to really dive in and see what were those layers that I needed to remove so that I can really find that channel, that center, and hold compassion for myself and for others through that process.
Yeah, I think compassion is such a beautiful quality of the heart. And when we're thinking about being going beyond duality, we really are speaking about the path of the heart, right? Anahata, the breath, the presence, the now, the love, which is able to, it's the strongest, most powerful force in the planet, right?
Really.
Compassion. And so, even though this is the work that we are both doing, it's also the continuous work. It's like it's never finished, right? It's just like it's what, when you are in harmony with yourself, it's very easy to know, and it feels very uncomfortable to be out of that harmony. Because what you do whenever you do something and you do it consistently, if you start to create the pathway, right? Like that's why we call it a path, because it's a pathway. And when it feels very incongruent, disharmonious. It feels like, I'll speak for myself, it feels like bad music, and or where someone is teaching a class and their microphone is just like static. It feels horrible to be out of congruency, integrity, harmony with oneself. So the work is always like trying to find the center that goes beyond I'm right, you're wrong. Is
Right.
this way or it's that way? If I don't have it right, if it doesn't turn out this way, then I won't be happy. And it's that path of like really looking at, I love what you're sharing, like what are the conditions and the labels that I've gained from my society, that I've gained from my family, that I've gained from my environment right now, that are saying this is light, this is dark, this is right, this is bad, right? And so to really start to think about what's the inner war that's happening, right? There's an inner war, and when we are able to harmonize that, we're able to step out of the conditioned matrix and start to create our own grid, or start to allow ourselves to get into the real grid of life, which is just happening in this now moment. There's always an opportunity to be anew on the spiritual journey, on a healing journey, which is just about arriving right here. This is like,
Yeah. And you know, it's really interesting because through my process, I've also learned like there's good and bad in everything. Like, it doesn't matter what religion or what belief or if you're spiritual or not, like, there's good and bad in everything. And so, like, learning not to judge is such a big thing that I wish upon everyone to learn. to really discern and to have that compassion, because it's like we are all made up of stories, and we're all different characters living on the same planet, and we're all trying our best here, and we're always learning from each other. That's the most important thing, is like when you give an opportunity to learn from someone else, you would be surprised how much you're learning from each other, because you're being open, and it requires you to open your heart, because that is the key. And in ancient Egypt, which I'm very connected to, and as you know, I've traveled numerous times to Egypt, I discovered, not just recently after my first journey, the goddess I most resonate with, and it's goddess Ma'at. And it's a goddess that a lot of people don't talk about, don't mention, or never heard of. And she happens to be, in my perspective, of course, one of the most important role models of this culture, back in those days, because she represents the scale of truth. And because of the scale, she's the ostrich feather, they were either welcome to the afterlife or not. So they would measure the heart of the deceased against this ostrich feather. So is your heart pure? And what I've learned through the years, representing or feeling very connected, embodied with this presence, is that it's not that, I'm an angel, and because I'm an angel, I'm going to make it to the afterlife. It's more of like, what opportunities did you give yourself and others to forgive? To really sit and have conversations and communicate, and really find each other, even through the differences. We're all meant to be different. And that's the cosmic joke of all this, is like, we're all meant to be different. Yet there's always, like we always say in our spiritual community, when you're triggered by someone, the invitation is, what part of you, point that finger towards yourself, and what part of you is feeling that trigger, because it's not about them. At the end of the day, it's about you, like something maybe through your upbringing, maybe a trauma that you have not taken a look at. And so, yeah, it's like we live in a society where people just look the other way, and they don't face it. And it's like, it's important to sit with our fears. It's important to sit with the duality of who we are, because we all have the divine feminine, the divine masculine within us.
Yeah,
And it's just learning to make peace with that.
yeah. And we all also have a small identity, right? Like my mind, my stories, all the things that I think I am. And we have a greater identity, which is our connection to our soul, to our spirit. We also have that at play all the time, which is the way that I call it is like earthly truth and heavenly truth, all playing at the same time. So how do we harmonize it? Because yes, we still need an identity. We still need to know where we live and like to be in relationship with everyone. But it's really about, how can I clean up my personality so that it can start to be more and more in alignment with my greater identity, with my truth. And so much of that is about letting go of your judgments for yourself, where you should be, what should have happened in your life already, why those people, like taking the victim role out, and the moment that you realize and you stop saying that happened to me, they did this to me, this has like my poor little me story, and step into it's happening as me, and start to really allow the authority of that responsibility for what you're planting next. What are the next seeds that you're planting? Because we're forever creating this input of information through what we're engaging in. This morning I had I guide these community sessions on Monday mornings, and it really came out in a conversation in a hypnosis session with a client, which was, whenever there's the flow of life, right, there's consciousness, which is all of life, like the oceanic essence that is just forever is, and there's the rivers, which are like our own unique our own unique souls, right? They're all naturally, like our soul just knows where the ocean is going. Like it's the actual flow of life that we belong to. It's our source, but also our destination, right? It's like the soul knows. Just like the river, there's always like it never doubts. It knows where it's going. The river always goes where it knows where it's going. But whenever we are in judgment, or in not forgiving, in resentment, it's almost like we get out of the river and we just look at the river and we say, I really want the river. Right? I really want to be in the river and whatever. And, and we start to experience that our blockages, financial blockages, love blockages, energy blockages of any kind, and we just really want to have it one day. And we feel like we're chasing the thing instead of paying attention to what am I doing to get myself out of the river. And usually it's like, what have I not forgotten? What am I still holding on to? What idea, what identification of who I think I am is keeping me from just jumping back in the river, from remembering that at any point I could just flow back in the river and spiral down into my ocean, right? Because the soul knows that path. And so really remembering the power of that when we go from picking sides, we can live in that oceanic love of consciousness, which is really harmony in our heart, beyond duality. I love it.
Well, yeah, my soul mission, it's funny that you mentioned that. It was all about that. It's like living a life with grace and just embodying that and moving through all the layers and really learning to become a better listener. And also, I was on this soul mission clearing out like my throat chakra block. And like here I am talking to you today. Like this, yeah, it's been a long journey of clearing this out and allowing myself to be in my fullest expression. And I witnessed that this is a lot of what's happening out there. Like people don't really know how to communicate or don't know how to fully just give themselves the opportunity really to be heard, and I'm seeing this on nonstop all the time, and I think that has a lot to do with what's happening in the world today, because we're so conditioned again to look the other way or not face the fear, and then it just becomes like this pattern. It's a habitual pattern. And that's what happened with me. Like I started to notice my habitual patterns, and I decided one day, something here does not add up. Something here, I tend to attract the wrong situations, experiences, people. I'm shifting this. And I made that choice. And that's how I started my journey through plant medicine back in 2018 in Peru. And it's been epic. I mean, it's taken me to an ancient civilization tour, to be honest, the last few years, and just seeing temples and pyramids and connecting with all these beautiful indigenous people and getting blessed up. And yeah, it's just, I'm in a place where I understand. And of course, this has supported me in becoming this higher version of myself, of being able to hold space, hold space in these ceremonies, hold space when friends are going through things. I went through stuff with my own personal friends. And of course, it's not going to be perfect. Like I had to take time off to really process what happened, and there's beauty in that too. It's not like you need to have the answer right away. It's important to take a step back and give yourself the time to process and see how you can come back to the center with them,
Yeah. I love that so much. I really love that you share a little bit about your journey. My journey started around 2016, 2017 in Peru too, by myself, going into the medicines, right? And it took me India, Nepal, Egypt. It took me everywhere, to just keep diving deep into the same things, wanting to be with the frequency of truth. Because when you start diving into ancient and the shamanic path that I've been on, right? It's also when you start feeling and sensing the frequency of truth, something in you clicks that starts to understand that it's not about thinking your values, right, or thinking your what you think you are, but it's about embodying a frequency. And these temples and these big spaces get you into such presence. They quiet the thinking mind and get you into such experience of you in a way, right, of your greater identity, that it's almost like you're learning something that does not have to go through your mind. To me, it's felt like my physical, the subtle part of my body, it's growing in size, or it's harmonizing. So it's getting greater volume because of it. So I really love that. And so what happens when we stop being so anchored in the pressure of I have things have to be the way I want them, and start
Oh yeah.
saying to accept like things are the way they are, and whether I think they are positive or negative, I'm always going to be right, because I'm always going to have validation for whatever I think. Right? Because it's almost like we speak about it like through science and psychology, like is the reticular activating system. There is a little filter in our brain that is forever looking at what we believe to be true, and it's forever filtering everything out. Like when we go see a red Jeep because we want to buy it, right? And then we're seeing the red Jeep everywhere. It's the same thing with our beliefs. If you believe something, you're going to keep having validation for how that is true. So it really takes taking the elevator from the brain to the heart, and
Oh
from
yeah.
the place of the heart, really saying like, is it optimal for me in this now moment, or is it not optimal for me? Instead of going into is it into like good or bad, what about maybe speaking is like, is it giving me energy or is it draining my energy? And
I
maybe.
was just gonna say that because we are energy, we are
Mhm.
vibration.
Yeah.
So if we're vibrating at a higher
Hmm.
frequency, we're gonna start attracting
Yeah.
these divine connections. Like, I, sometimes it blows my mind. Like,
I know we like crack up all the time,
oh
Glow.
my God, it blows my mind. Like when I think back of my journey, I'm like, I would have never in a million years thought that I would end up in a plant medicine journey, doing ayahuasca, doing all these sacred plants that I've been obviously doing in a ceremonial setting, always honoring the shaman, honoring the plant. But I would have never thought this because I was not into psychedelics at all. It was not something that I was into. And this is something that I always like to express to everyone that I meet. It's not a path that is meant for everyone. We're not here promoting psychedelics. We're not here telling everyone to go sit with a shaman. No. But it's good to learn what's out there and to understand other people's perspectives on their journeys because I've discovered through my process like the stories are so deep. I mean, to really dive deep and be vulnerable and to hear other people's vulnerability, that is the greatest gift that anyone can give you and that you can give to anyone. And
100%. Sometimes I feel the practices that I guide people through my soul set system and through the conscious creator is that it's like, how can we actually anchor our heart in such a way that we are reaching understanding the same way that we would reach an understanding through a peak experience, but simply through allowing the heart to open up and to reveal what needs to be heard, what needs to be seen, so that we can transform it, take it from the unconscious, purify it, put it into like the conscious field, and embody a frequency that is optimal to us, that is energy giving, vitality awakening in us, because that's the path that we have to be here. So although I walk the path of the medicines, it's not the only way, and there's a reverence to that, and I really believe that a lot of people are doing them in a way that is not optimal. And
mm,
I feel that even for people that might go and sit with in the right containers, unless you have developed some practice of grounding and of being fully in your body to ground all those teachings,
yeah.
you need to we need each other. I for sure like we need support, and so to find people that have had some stories that and to trust that who you're going with, right, beyond
Mhm.
duality, speaking about that, it's like, it's not like, is it a good shaman or is it a bad shaman, or is it a good space or is it not, but it's like, what is true to you right now? Like if you go into a space with anyone that has any sort of authority or anything that's an invitation from anyone, like the authority is you. To go beyond duality is to go beyond this person says or I think, to what's true to me right now. And that, like, to drop into the heart and to hear what your heart is leading you to. It's always going to lead you towards more expansion if you really listen to compassion, to love. Sometimes we think our way through feelings, we think our way through action, and it's just like you're leaving the most crucial part of you behind, which is your essence. It's your gnosis. It's the part of you that knows without having to have proof at hand, right? Or having to have story attached. And so the work of coming into this middle way, it's also about expanding your capacity to listen to your heart that goes beyond thinking.
It's also just dropping in, listening to your heart, and also being open to listen to other people's heart. Like
Yeah.
what they share, you know, when people are really open about and authentic about who they are and just, you know, other people don't agree, it's like, but that's their story. This is their path. This is what they chose for themselves. Like, who are we to tell them that it's this way and it's not that way? You know, it's like there's so many criticism happening out there. And I think we're living in a time that we can obviously see that there's chaos everywhere. And I don't even watch the news. And the little bit that, you know, gets to me, I'm blown away. I'm just like, what is happening? You know, it's like we need people to really find their center. They get to find their center. And it's important to have these conversations, you know, learning to be a listener, learning to really communicate. And when someone tells you something that you don't agree with, being open to that, you know, don't judge it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. But what's so beautiful about what you're bringing up is also that in presence, in the now, right? In leading with your heart, there is
yeah.
no other time. So it allows us to tap into the spirit of curiosity and wonder and awe,
Mm.
right? And delight. And when we can do that, it's all of a sudden people will open to their truth because it's not about being interesting as much as it is about being interested for life. Right? When I'm interested for life, all of a sudden I'm looking with new eyes, with the eyes of a child, right? I'm interested. What's there?
That's exactly me.
Right. And I
Totally.
love that about you because I feel like both of
Yeah.
us have this uh like eldership childlike essence
Yeah.
that we could be
Totally.
both deep in the wisdom of like the depth of the oof and like the importance of leading with intentionality, but also this playfulness that we can let go and have so much fun and be like, oh, show me where are the colors going. um, um, and I think that that's the paradox
But
that.
that's where the healing happens.
Mhm.
You see? And
Well,
that's another part of my story that has really brought this beautiful essence about who I am today, glow, you know? It's like allowing myself to step into this inner child that didn't get to explore or be as curious when she was a child, you know? And just seeing things from a different perspective again is the main thing, because then it's like when you're in that flow and that energy, it's magnetic. And
oh my
so when
God.
you're around people, it's like they start understanding that they get to do that as well. They can
Yeah.
like drop the barriers, you know, loosen the heart and just allow yourself to be experienced. Allow yourself to be seen. Allow yourself to be heard. Or like when we go to the ecstatic dance, like allow yourself to move freely and,
Take up
you know,
space.
feel and
Take up
take space.
space.
Exactly. Take
Like
space.
I,
You know, that took me a while, to be honest, to take
yeah,
space.
I
Like,
saw you
I,
coming into yourself in one of my events.
I know. Oh my gosh. At that event, I really tapped into my fire energy because for me, water is my healing energy. It's my go-to. And with you, I've explored more of that fire that, again, we all have these elements within us, but it's having that awareness and what can we do to really bring ourselves to that alignment, because it's at the
Yeah.
end, it's like what we're saying, beyond duality, it's like coming to that alignment
Hmm.
and inviting others to find it within themselves.
Yeah. I love what
And
you're
it starts
sharing.
with being that embodiment, you know.
I love what you're sharing. Sometimes finding that middle way starts by going into the extremes, right? And so it might take you a little bit, and that's okay. Have no judgment for the path, but when you catch it, can you come back into the center? That the center, I really feel that today's leadership is all about paradox. Because the paradox is in the middle too. The paradox is the place where you say it's not this or that, right? And if you think about it, every time that you come into a paradox, laughter emerges, It's like when you I really feel like that's what the sages and why the teachers that I follow, right? I'm thinking about Chief Nishiwaka of the Yawanawa, why they have like this twinkle in their eye, because
Yeah.
it's just like, because they're forever looking at the paradox of life, like this is the most important moment of your life and it doesn't really matter. Like all at the same time. So like I really feel that the new leadership right now is leadership in as paradox, that it requires both humility and conviction, both courage and beauty. It requires like the integration of like being both the structure but also the flow. One of the archetypes that I think is very present for both of us, especially because we hold space, right? Like being that pillar of light that you were speaking about, when you
Right.
allow yourself to be in and carry so much electricity, because if you think about it, so much energy, so much vibration, that you can hold space, and you can, if you teach yourself to hold more and more of your own electricity, it makes it natural to hold space for others. It makes it accessible for you to hold the vision of what's possible for others as they soften into their strength and to their stillness and action, into their transformation, their emergence. I'm getting the visual of like the rose opening up. It makes it
Yeah.
easy, right? So letting go of needing certainty and instead choosing this transformative intimacy with the unknown, as you naturally start to blossom into more of that middle way. Right? So,
Exactly. And funny enough, you mentioned the rose. It's my favorite flower of all.
I know,
And
like,
it's given me so much purpose because I know that I carry like rose lineage transmissions through the work that I've been doing. I mean, Mother Mary's been in all of my pilgrimage, and I just learned to just allow it. Again, it's an allowing, it's a choice, right? And long and behold, it's just taught me so much. I've experienced so much beauty, so much magic, like things that I would have never imagined have happened. And one thing that it told me when I got like this download, um, is like the rose carries, the petals that are blooming, and they carry these codes, but also the thorn. The thorn carries ancient codes. And it's again that dance, that duality. It's the same thing that we're saying. Like the ancient Egyptians understood that it's important to have that duality, that beautiful dance between the mind, the third eye, and the heart. And it's like, it's not one or the other. There needs to be this flow of energy. And when
yeah.
that happens, it's like that's when you're allowing things to really take form.
I
The
love that.
seen, the unseen becomes seen, so to speak.
Yeah, the unseen becomes seen anytime that you start to understand the power that you have to manipulate the energy that you're embodying, like radiating, emanating, especially when you start to match your desires, your heart's true desires with your vision. And a really good practice for this is to start seeing the infinity sign circulating around
Mm,
your mind and your heart, and letting your breath
mhm,
guide that, right? Whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes of just, I do it through my entire spine, because I also
mhm.
feel that we have three main centers. It's also my groin, my sex organs, right? I want to feel like, I want that thing, whether it's my, right? It's like I want it, and I want to feel it in my love, and I also want to see it in my tri-eye, which can see beyond duality, right? Like that third space that knows who I am, like circulating that infinity sign through all my main channels, and like through really seeing like that it's going around my shushumanati, the main column that's having that spinal fluid that goes all the way to my brain, and going around in that infinity. But it's also really powerful to do the infinity sign moving from the left side of your brain to the right side of your brain as a breath practice, and just give yourself like the space to harmonize opposites in your body, right? To harmonize, like your body is an antenna of consciousness, and when you start to really know that you can't love the rose without the thorns, right? You can't leave a part of you behind, even the part of you that is in judgment. You want to bring it in and say like, that's interesting,
Yeah.
wow,
It
not to
wants
push it
love.
away.
It wants
Yeah.
love. It just, needs more love and attention. That's all.
Yeah. So even, you
It's
know,
a part of who we are. Our duality is a part of who we are. Our shadow and our light. It's not gonna
yeah.
change. Nothing's gonna change unless you give it the shape. You give it the opportunity to shift.
Yeah. And I
And
feel
that's
like,
what I love about what you're sharing about the number 8, because that's actually the amount of years that I've been on this pilgrimage of
that's right.
what I felt recently. This incubation is what my intuition told me. I just closed that cycle and I've just started a new beginning, a new cycle. And this is the new cycle. It's me allowing myself to be at my fullest expression and no longer, it doesn't need to look a certain way. It doesn't have to be perfect, because I feel like, again, going back to the conditioning for so long, I was so stuck in my head that things had to be perfect. And that had a lot to do with my upbringing. Everything had to be perfect a certain way. And so, once I allowed myself to let go of that, it's like, you know, life is not as complicated as we put it out to be. It really isn't. It's just, I think it's hilarious because I'm able to actually be the observer of everything that's happening. And of course, I have compassion for all the loss and all the pain that's happening in the world. Absolutely. But I cannot feed the same fear that's being put out, you know?
Yeah. I was
I can
speaking.
hold space. I can give you love. I can be there to support, but I'm not going to feed it because I already know that that's not the medicine. That's not going to get us anywhere.
So
And
I
that's
was,
what happened with me with when I was in my journey and all these years is just making peace with my past and giving it love. That's all she wanted. My inner child just wanted more attention.
yeah. I love that so much because I've been speaking about that with my community also, that is the fallacy of guilt, right? That there's
Mm,
so much happening in the world right now that there's a part of us that feels like we should also be feeling bad. But,
right.
right? But to really allow ourselves to be pillars of light, of healing, of health, of abundance, of gratitude, of infinite love, is to be in our fullness, to be radiate, to enjoy everything we have to the maximum, because we are one consciousness. Like our greater identity is the ocean of life, and we are rivers, right? And so if we get out of the river of life, like we were saying in the beginning, we're not
Yeah.
adding. We're thinking about like, why don't I get, instead of like, what can I give? Let me offer. Let me make some offerings to this river. Let me allow myself to take some beauty into this field of consciousness, that it's not so much about what do I take, but also the responsibility of knowing your creationness, right? Like that you are a creative force that has the capacity, and actually what Thoth, right? Like the teachings of Hermes Trismegistus, were you are here to increase on increasing and expand on expanding, because that's what
Mm,
consciousness does. That's what
yeah.
life is forever doing. So when
Yeah.
we go into fear mode, literally what happens is that our neocortex stops thinking creatively.
Yep.
And it's our responsibility to align ourselves with greater truth. And the greater truth is that if I stay regulated and in the frequency of love and gratitude and understanding that, there needs to be winters in life, there needs to be the darkness in life in order for us to know the light. And that right now the news is very intelligently and by design trying to create societies that are in fear.
Yeah.
Therefore, people are in wars and in all of this because of misinformation that's going around. Can we add a better story? And what we can do is, like, if you can do something to support the people, whatever you're struggling with right now, please take action. Please do it. But if you can't add to it, then vibrate higher. Please do
Yep.
it. Right? Like,
Mhm.
please allow yourself to be in the light, to be allowed to be in joy, to be in like your own center, because only through there you will be able to look beyond duality, right? To experience
Yeah.
beyond duality and to radiate more truth.
And if you're also dealing with your own inner war,
Same.
sit with that. Sit with that energy. And like, what can you do differently
Yeah.
to
You know,
transform that? Like an alchemist.
So the work that I invite people to do often is, and we go through these processes of yeah, you sit with what is. You sit with what is the most important. It's the number one step. Awareness, allowing, accepting. Also, that it's beyond duality, right? That our consciousness is not just about looking and observing. There's also a directing quality to our consciousness, which is the capacity to take action in a meaningful way. So we are both, yes, the observer, but also the director and creator of our life. And so at the same time that we are honoring what's present and sitting with it and taking time to be with, that we also have, we are multidimensional beings, that we can have seemingly opposite experiences at the same time. At the same time, you can also activate what do you love, what's important to you. Feed yourself with the nourishing energy, whether that's through food, through environments, through people, through activities. Like you can honor what's true and cultivate the feelings you want, because it's that cultivation, that's what, that those are the offerings you take to the river of life. Right? Like the cultivating of the energies that are giving you more vitality, more energy, more presence, more truth. That's always there for you. And all of us, by the way, know what are the things that bring us more true that we can do now, today. Right? Whether that's
Yeah. And
gardening
it's like
or
I
talking to
say,
a friend.
what you seek is seeking you.
Yeah.
And
I love it.
it's like we're mirrors to each other. And I invite people to really dive into that deep presence of truth within themselves and seek. And if maybe you're not in the right environment, you don't have the right people that surround you that can guide you, there's so much out there.
Yeah.
There's books you could read, there's podcasts, like Sandra Tru. It's like I said, I started my path not really knowing and just trusting and allowing, and things started showing up. The
Yeah.
moment I decided I was no longer going to continue this pattern that was not mine to begin with. There was a lot of programming from my childhood, allowing the breath to guide you, because it's like I was telling Sandra before, it's the first thing we do when we're born, and it is the last thing we do when we transition. And beyond that, we're infinite beings. So there's no fear. Like the another thing that I learned was no fear of death.
Yeah.
Death is a natural and beautiful process of life.
Me too. Yeah.
And the
Actually,
sacred breath allows us to remember and to connect to that channel, which is our connection to source, to creator.
I love
Whatever
that
that
you're
looks like.
bringing that up, because it's such a thing that keeps many people in duality, right? The fear of death, the fear
Yeah.
of like the fear of things not working out. Or the fear of things being as they were before. Our body is so tense up with fear of what might happen, or with attachment to what we don't want to let go, right? And
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of that is death and birth and life, right? Like life and death. And yes, many of us are afraid of death. And I also feel and sense that many of us are afraid of being fully alive. And it brings to mind the Tibetan Book of the Dead. I started reading this thanks to one of my acting teachers, who was probably how I got into deep into mysticism, through this book, the Tibetan Book of the Death. And in it, it starts to invite you to consider death as an ally, to have the
Mm,
spirit of death at your doorstep every day. You just like sit with, like, it's so sacred to honor death as like an ally in our life, that's reminding you the sacredness of this now moment. That when you're with a friend, what if you'll never see them again? When you're with your parent or anyone that triggers you in your life, how much compassion would you have in your heart if you just consider the truth that it's hard to keep a human alive, that people do die, right? That
exactly.
not, we think other people die, but that could never happen to us. That things do end. That death is a necessary process of life, and that at any moment it can happen to us. And instead of looking at it as a morbid thing, can we use it as something that activates more desire to be fully alive, more in the middle, more without judgment, more with compassion, more with presence, more with breath, right? That we have the capacity to breathe. Think about so many people that are stuck in mental problems, that are struggling to have, because they have wounds that are not physical, and people don't know that they're struggling with psychological issues. Many of them people we might know, right? Like and so that when you have psychological problems, when you have physical problems that are keeping you from your breath, that are keeping you from having good breath, or illnesses that are taking your life away little by little, what if we just start breathing more, living more, enjoying more, more, right? And more of like whenever I'm teaching breath work, it's like, I bring everyone to the sound of delight, right, on that exhale, because it's like it doesn't take much for us to choose to delight in this now moment. It's just like we're one breath away from taking it in fully. And like when we are able to do that, to expand our capacity to breathe, we're expanding our capacity to listen to the heart, to breathe, to love, to have compassion, to ground in our body. Like it's so powerful. And I've been studying pranayama as a yogi, as a yoga teacher, and I know Glow has been doing that, because at some
Yeah.
point you just come to the understanding of that it's so simple.
It's all connected.
It's all connected.
It's
It's the
all
breath.
connected.
you know
It's the breath.
it's the
And
breath.
it's so sacred. And I notice that many of us don't realize that. Like, we just go around our day hurrying up, doing it, and we don't take a moment to really just like observe and be present with our own sacred breath. It's so powerful to do that at least once a day.
Yeah.
If not more, but it's so valuable. It'll shift so many things in anyone's life, really.
And if you are not breathing well, how can you possibly pause to question if maybe you are putting yourself in dualistic thinking? If maybe like it's an impossibility. If you're not following your breath and feeling your heart, and expanding the capacity of your diaphragm to feel, you literally, your breath is stuck in your head and in your upper chest, so you can't question whether maybe there's a new way of being, that it's not conditioned by the programs from our lineage, from our culture, from our home, from our stories, from our woundings, from our traumas, which is
Yeah.
like how most of us are looking through life. But when we have deep breath, we have the embodiment of truth moving through our body, right? The spiritus, which is the breath, to be inspired, right? In breath. And so in that way, I think that that's a beautiful way to give to people. Like, can you breathe in right now, this moment, and ask yourself, is there something in my life that's keeping me stuck in separation, because I'm not allowing myself to breathe, to land, to come into my heart, to perhaps question if maybe I don't need to be right. Maybe what's most important is to be closer, right? Closer to myself and more connection with others. Whatever is keeping us away from the river of life, right? To just ask that question, like in honesty, to be honest with
And
ourselves.
forgiveness. And forgiveness.
Yeah, if there's something we're not
It's so
forgiving right now.
powerful to forgive. It's
Yeah.
important to forgive.
Yeah, and with that said, it's like forgiveness is the main thing that's keeping us outside of the river, of the flow. And it's also not the last step. It's just the first step in the process, right? Because it's like forgiving, it's never for someone else. It's for ourselves. It's for, I don't need to carry this tension or this idea of what things should be. And it's also just the first step to, okay, I forgive, but what am I going to do about it, right? How am I going to embody this new energy that rises into our being when we finally forgive? It's like we have new energy in our system. So Glow, I'm so excited that we had this conversation. Is there anything that you'd like to finish with, and anything that if somebody is hearing this conversation right now and they're having a hard time with compassion, with forgiving, with seeing things from a new perspective, is there anything that you would say to them?
I would say invite self-exploration and curiosity, and that beautiful dance between your divine feminine and divine masculine, and just like allow yourself to really feel into where it wants to take you next. And allowing yourself to soften your heart, because so many of us are holding on to so much and we can only hold it for so long. It's time to let the borders go and create a bridge where we can communicate, where we can hold that beautiful compassion for self, for others, and become better listeners and communicators.
I love that so much. Yeah, as you were saying, you were saying about letting go. That's another paradox, right? That when we start to look at beyond duality, is really understanding that surrender is not submission. It's not about giving up control. Surrender is about using our power to let go of control whenever we choose to. And so when we think about it like that, it's like we are choosing to drop the swords, to drop our armor, and to be led. That it's also important to have control. Self-control is necessary, right, for our focus and what we're doing with our energy, how we're manipulating our life into one channel. Many of us are living with many leaky energy, right? Self-control is also important, as it is to surrender and to use that power that we have to control, to let go of control itself, and live in greater alignment with beauty, with harmony, with compassion, with trust, with allowing yourself to arise into who is already there, that you are already fully there. The seeds of your truth are already there. And by creating an environment that is conducive to life-giving energies in your life, you naturally become a pillar that can hold, a model that can hold a vibrational frequency that others will come into, and will be ignited by it. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have this conversation with you, sister, because I think you are that pillar for so many people. And I see you, and I'm so grateful for you.
So grateful for you, sister.
Yeah. Where can people find you, Glow?
They can find me on Instagram at glow, GLOW_RIAAA. I would
Yeah.
say that's the place where I am
Yeah.
always
She's
in the
always,
know of what I'm up to. The retreats, we're going back to Egypt in November. I'm really excited. It'll be my 5th time there. And yeah, this journey's just been really incredibly epic. And I love that I get to connect with people that are on this path of, again, self-exploration, deep work, and allowing themselves to be vulnerable and to open up little by little. You open up, and then the smiles start
the
to,
smile.
yeah,
I
changes
love
everything.
it. Changes everything. I
Yeah.
feel like sometimes when I'm working with clients, I'm like, I feel like I should get paid, because that moment of arrival, like of that aha, of like coming home to the wow,
Yeah.
it's like it's so sacred to witness.
Yeah.
It's so
That
sacred.
aha moment is everything. Because
Yeah.
it's like that's the moment you realize it's not that serious. We're here to explore. We're here to learn from all our relations. We're here to learn from all our relations and to learn from each other.
And also explore and express. I think that's the medicine. Thank you, everybody. Please stay connected. If you like this podcast, please subscribe. We would love for you to just keep showing up for this amazing community. And also, I would love for you to consider staying in touch with me. Get on my newsletter. I have a beautiful community called the Conscious Creator Experience. We have deep soul set sessions available. These are ways of aligning your frequency, your energy. Stay connected with Glow and her retreats and so many community events. If you're in Miami, we have a beautiful community here, and we do awesome events exploring consciousness through play. So stay in touch with us. We're sending you so much love. Keep the vibration high, even in times of chaos. That's where we need it the most. Thank you, everybody. See you next week.
Thank you.